Hello everyone, it's me, that divination witch. I hope you're doing well. I'm back with another episode in our Keys of Life podcast. If you've not listened to any of the episodes or seen them, we're chatting with people from all backgrounds, walks of life, talking about their spiritual journey, what it means to them, and what it's all about. Because there is no right or wrong answer here, and everyone's got a different perspective on things, and that's cool. So I'm joined by Chris today, the lovely Chris, and we're going to chat about their spiritual journey. And yeah, I've got all my stuff linked below, and I'll link Chris's stuff below if he wants me to. But yeah, go check it out if you want to support the channel further. I've got a Patreon, a shop, all of that. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I am doing well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I am good. Being a bit busy, but hey ho, I'm grateful. Uh, thanks for coming on today. So let's get into it then. Let's dive into it. So, what would you describe your spiritual practice as at the minute, if you had to describe it?
So I would probably say eclectic witch is probably the best description it would fit in. My spiritual beliefs are very kind of like animist in nature, I would say. So I really focus on how we're all universal energy and none of us are separate, kind of, and that's really core to kind of my day-to-day life. And most of my kind of witchcraft is based on self-care, personal transformation, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
I'm currently working with two deities, which is Hecate and Sekhmet, and they're kind of the only
mm.
deities I've encountered so far.
Oh, cool, cool. Well, I knew you were obviously linked with Hecate because that's how we know each other through Hecate. Uh, but Sekhmet, so I mean, how did you go from, well, I guess animism to deity work? How did you meet these deities?
Yeah, it's interesting you asked that because basically I started off growing up. I was raised Christian, went to church every week. I was really heavily involved in the church, volunteering lots, and I, up until kind of I was a teenager, I had really strong beliefs, but also I was gay, queer, whatever. I can dress quite fluid, gender fluid as well. But growing up, struggled with that a lot, the inner turmoil. And then as I went off to uni and living my life, I kind of started to deconstruct my Christian beliefs. And then as I did that, I started to have spiritual beliefs get involved in kind of like mediumship, paranormal hunting, ghost hunting, that kind of
Mm.
thing.
Yeah,
And very much believed in kind of a source or universal energy. And I really was kind of avoiding witchcraft, avoiding deities, all of that kind of thing. And then suddenly I just started on YouTube, just started having loads, and your videos were one of them. They would just pop up, Hecate, 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 here, everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And I think it wasn't really until I'd done all of that other spiritual stuff, so like mediumship, because I was quite scared of it from my Christian beliefs growing up. I was really scared of
mm.
like ghosts, things like that, but I always had such fascination. And it wasn't, I think, until I was ready enough that Hecate made herself very clear to me and was like,
Yeah.
no, this is your path now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So it's just been recent then, I take it. Well, yeah.
Yeah, the past few years really is when I first stumbled. I kind of started watching your videos, and then oh, I can't remember her name. Another um Hecate witch uh content creator would just pop up loads, and then as I kind of delved in deeper and started to kind of form a personal relationship with Hecate, she was showing me that actually I think she's been with me a lot longer than I realized, and she actually showed up in kind of different ways throughout my life.
Yeah.
So one of them was I I had an imaginary pet when I was growing up, and when I was really struggling, I would like talk to. It was actually him, Jake, this dog. Imagine I
Oh,
was actually terrified of dogs at the time, and for some reason, it was this dog coming through, and I really strongly believe that it was actually Hecate then, and she was there listening to me, interacting with me, and yeah.
oh, that's sweet. She is like that though, like similar stories with me. You find when you look back, your childhood interests and things, it kind of all, well, not just childhood, all of it all links together. It really does.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
would you say it's like a lot different to, I know you said you volunteered a lot in at church and things. So, were you from like a religious background, like, well, a strictly religious
Yeah.
one, I guess?
Yeah, so my family are all very religious and still very involved in the church. My sister's essentially a pastor at a church. And yeah, so I was brought up to, we were allowed to have our own kind of belief and thing, but it was very heavily encouraged to go to church, and it was what I was
Yeah.
taught, really. Um, so yeah, I would say so. It was a very religious and doing lots of volunteering and and now how life is different to then is I feel, and I think I need to be careful how I say this because I still have a lot of respect for the church, and I
Mhm.
still, there's been times when I haven't, and I've kind of gone the other way
Yeah.
and really not liked it at all, been rejecting all of it. But now I'm coming to more of a place of actually a lot of it is similar to an extent. There's a lot of people who are wanting to connect and to help others, and there are some really caring. It's just for me, I feel that the organized religion side of it stops you from being an individual and stops you from having free thought about your own beliefs. And now, like, I'm still not 100% sure on what all my beliefs are, the specifics, but I think to me now it's not, all of those specifics aren't important because the spiritual
Hmm.
stuff is so much further from our imagination than we can imagine. I feel like we're never truly going to know all the
Yeah.
answers. That's kind of the fun about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think I've mentioned it on the channel before that, you know, when it comes to Christianity, maybe not just Christianity, organized religion, there are I guess in the grand scheme of things, minorities that do, you know, pick on us. I guess like I'm saying us as in spiritual people, our beliefs and things like that. So it's understandable because I've been there myself where you go the opposite way and you're like, F this. But for me, yeah, very much live and let live. And there are some genuinely nice people that are still in organized religions. It's live and let live, isn't it? But I agree, we don't know everything and we never will. No human will.
Mhm.
You might think you do. And anyone who says they do, run away
Yeah.
because that's dodgy. uh, but no, we won't ever know. That's why, well, Hecate got me to do this podcast, and then here you are, another Hecate, and you're saying the same sort of thing. Because even she's like to everyone, look, there's no right and wrong. I think we all get caught up in that. With the best will in the world, try not to, still get caught up in it. So I know we talked about Hecate, of course, but what about Sekhmet? Because you mentioned Sekhmet. Like, how did, I'm just curious, how did you come about meeting Sekhmet?
Yeah, so it was a very long time ago, but you actually did me a deity confirmation, and Sekhmet was one of the deities that came forward. And I remember at the time, I've always had a fascination with ancient Egypt. When I was younger, I was obsessed and like learning about all the different gods, goddesses, and Sekhmet was one of them who I had a very strong kind of obsession over and would read lots about her. I kind of forgot about that, and then when I got my deity reading, I was like, yeah, I can kind of see that. But then I started to watch some videos on Sekhmet, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want that because a lot of the information I was seeing was that she's a very hardworking deity. You need to be really committed, and that put me off. I have my own. I've been through a big personal transformation with my like mental and physical health as well, and I've really struggled and got to kind of like a crisis point, and that was kind of the time when
Oh,
Hecate came in. But then I've been through a lot of therapy and a lot of shadow work and all of this different stuff, and it's led me to this point where I'm kind of on my the next step of my journey, and that's when she kind of
yeah.
started to make herself known. And how it happened was it was a very different experience. Suddenly, just the house, so much paranormal activity suddenly around the house. And it was always when it was just me around, or I would walk around the corner and this would fly off the shelf,
Oh,
or
wow.
and
Yeah.
and I don't want to scare people because I've done a lot of like working with paranormal activity and stuff. So I kind of
Yeah.
like that. I think she wouldn't have shown me that much intensity if she knew I couldn't handle it. Um,
Yeah.
and and to start with, I obviously knew there was a spirit about, and I was doing some work, and I was really confused because I like to work with kind of like the spirit of my house, so getting in touch with the house and the energy. And I was like, what's going on? There's this spirit, and I
Mm.
don't know who it is. Who is it? Who's trying to show up to me? And it was like the answers I was getting were a bit vague, and it was like, oh, I don't know. So I was doing some protection, some workings, and it was still there, and I could really feel it. And then just suddenly it just clicked, and I felt this fiery energy, really fiery, really strong. And it was like I could see this huge kind of in my third eye, like a huge being or something there, and I didn't know what it was. And then I just was doing some searching, Sekhmet popped up into my algorithm, and it was the statue of Sekhmet. There's a well-known statue in Karnak Temple, and yeah, it was that. And she was here, and she wanted to make her presence known, and she showed me her power. And to start with, I was a bit nervous, and she showed me there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm powerful, but you're powerful too, and you can deal with this. And yeah, and it's been a very different experience than what I've had with Hecate. And she's with Hecate, I find that for me, she very much works from afar.
Mhm.
She's only with me and present if I really need that. If not, she does it. She's just like, yeah, I'm here if you want me, but
Yeah.
you don't need to be with me all the time. Whereas Sekhmet is much more a part of my day-to-day life, I would say. She's very involved in that, and she likes me to make sure that I'm standing in my power and um not letting anyone dampen my light kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting to hear. That's why I asked, because in my experience, I mean, Sekhmet, I've never worked with her, but I've met her obviously lots of times. And she can, if you look her up, yeah, it can be intimidating. She has a lot of similarities to Carly. I feel like they're like, oh, very similar, is in that dark rage, that feminine rage that can sometimes be a bit out of control, but can be tamed. Uh, but I feel with warrior goddesses, I know this with Freya. Yeah, she sounded exactly like that. What you described, like Freya can be very much like that. And I think people can get intimidated because, especially these warrior sort of energies, want that commitment kind of thing for the course that they're with you, however long it may be, because it's all personal, but they want you to show up every day and try your best for yourself, not so much for them as for you, your own power. Uh, But even though that's the case, they're not out to harm anyone. They're there to help us. And I think people forget that. It's the same with Hecate. I think it's a bit different with her, maybe. I know she's known from work as working from afar. She does that exact thing with me too. Uh, and people often, that's why I did a video. People often think, oh, she's gone. No, it's just how she is. Because she isn't this, if you think of a soldier, they've got to show up every day and train and work. And that's the difference, isn't it? Uh, but yeah, that's my 2 cents. Yeah, that's cool. So, I know you mentioned as well, you've done some mediumship sort of stuff. So do you want to share that? How did that go? What was that like?
Yeah, so it was very different, and I think maybe something I'll go back into. Who knows what will happen? But I basically, when I moved to this area, I was really looking for some kind of spiritual friends, that kind of thing. And I ended up I found a psychic circle, a development circle, um, and would go and we'd do kind of like different games that are kind of like psychic games, but then we'd also do like um, photo readings for people of someone on the other side, or um, oh, what's it called? It's psychometry with like objects, holding objects and trying to sense off
Mm.
them, and then also doing card readings, things like that. And it was, I think, what I learned most from it was how it's not, obviously it's difficult and you need to dedicate and take time, but actually I think people were overcompl or when I started I was thought it was going to be much more complicated than it actually is. And
Yeah.
it kind of showed me that ah this is really something that I could do, or this that kind of vibe. And I made lots of friends through it. I would say that a lot of development circles are very kind of joined with like spiritualist churches and stuff. So I think it still wasn't the complete right fit for me, because uh, there was still a lot of like kind of Christian influence maybe at times.
Yeah.
Um, but it taught me a lot, and I think it made me really realize how kind of, I think maybe I was doubting my spirituality at that point, but then when I started to get these readings and confirmations of things that I could possibly like never have known,
Yeah.
it was amazing for me, and it showed me like my abilities in clairsentience, particularly like feeling the emotion or how they died or something like that.
Yeah. Interesting. I think, well, for me, I've never done that, but I know my friend has, who was on the first episode. And it's interesting to me how it's like a support network as well. And like, yeah, I think that's a really good thing because you can see, I don't know if I'm wording it right, but you could see maybe where you're doubting yourself. I was going to say, you see where you're going wrong, but there's not really a wrong to it. But yeah, it sounds interesting. So, was there a favorite part of that you did?
Yeah, for me, I think the best part was actually there was like a um doing like past life readings on yourself kind of thing, and basically doing past life meditations, trying to connect to that. Um, and I was amazed at how much came up actually, and how they were kind of my past life experiences kind of line up to my experiences in this life in some way. So like fear of dogs, that definitely came up, and kind of where that came from in my past life, and now it's kind of unrelated, but my own therapy journey now, I see it someone who's an energy psychologist. So it's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
like spiritual adjacent, and my therapist is more involved in kind of like the Eastern and Asian traditions, like Buddhism, Tantra, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And oh, what was I talking about? I've completely lost my train of thought.
I asked you what was your favorite bit in the mediumship stuff. So like what I
Past
was thinking, oh yeah, past lives. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh,
life.
and what came up you were saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so now for me now, we do a lot of past life readings in that, and it's really, really helped me, and seeing kind of like my own perception of what's the word? Like feeling an outsider is something I really struggle with
Mm.
currently, and how that's come up in so many of my past lives. It's really cool.
I've never heard of that, like that sort of therapy. That's interesting. So you do past life readings in that as well?
Kind of. It's not, we don't mean to do that, but it just comes up in the session. So
Yeah.
energy psychology, I think some parts like EFT, like the tapping and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
then there's another part which is more like we say there's these specific sentences. I can't think of what it's called, but we'll go through something tricky I've been dealing with or a tricky memory or something like that. And we say these specific sentences that are about retrieving your energy, removing non-me energy, and
Ah,
re gaining the energy from all of your reactions to it. And there's specific steps. And we sit in kind of a meditation and we do these sentences. But then afterwards, I just stay in the meditation and then we just see what comes up and just all sorts comes up. And
wow.
done like ancestral healing, past life healing, like all these different things, but it's not really
Hmm.
planned to go that way. It just happens in the
Yeah.
second.
Oh, that sounds cool. It's like you are reclaiming your energy back. It's interesting as someone like I worked a little bit in mental health. I'm by no means a, a psychologist, but I studied a little bit and helped people. And yeah, that interesting. I'd never came across it. That sounds cool. So I know obviously you said you grew up Christian and stuff like that. So when you were younger, did you ever have any like spooky goings on or spiritual beliefs or you know, did you
No,
ever?
yeah, definitely. I had a lot of, so like at church events and stuff I would go to, I would really feel the energy. And that's what kind of kept me to like a Christian belief at that time because it was all I knew. And I felt the
Yeah.
energy in the room, the spirit, whatever. And I would do a lot of, when I was quite young, actually, I would do like prayers at the front of church and at people's weddings and stuff in front of loads of people. And I'd just get up to the front and I wouldn't know what I was going to say. And it would just be like I was channeling something. I would just suddenly be saying all of these things. And I had a lot of these weird kind of like, I would pray about something, think about something, and then it would happen, or it would happen a few days later, or I would see something while I was praying, and then I would see that thing later and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of
Oh wow.
weird goings on and kind of at night time, I would always see a lot of shadows and things going on, and
Yeah.
so there was a lot of weird mystical things. And at the time, it really helped me in my Christianity beliefs. But now, as I've come to understand it, I kind of see things a bit differently.
Hmm. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm always just curious about that because it seems a common theme. A lot of us don't know if it's like it doesn't matter what what you're raised as, I guess, but a lot of us are just open from a young age and like this path finds you. I feel no matter when I say this path, that's the whole point. There's no one right answer, but the path of spirituality is an umbrella term. It does find you, you know. That's interesting. So I know at the beginning as well, you said you would describe yourself now as an eclectic witch. Yeah. So do you do any witchcraft spells, things like that?
Yeah, I do. I do. Most of the spells I do are just for things like protection. I do a lot of workings that are kind of like uh, kind of bath rituals, I suppose. I do a lot of spiritual
Yeah.
baths, and I'll have a specific focus. And I'm not. I mean, Hecate is getting me to be a bit more interested in the herb side of things. So I've been growing my own herbs in a greenhouse, and Hecate loves them. She loves to have a herbal tea that I make for her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I like those things, but I much more go on my intuition. I used to follow things and stuff, but I kind of just check in with whichever deity I'm working with, or with my own body, my own intuition. And I say, what do I need to do today? What's the vibe? So
Mhm.
I'm not very good at having things written down and doing all of that kind of thing, but I just really go with the flow. A lot of, yeah, bath rituals. I work with crystals a lot, crystal grids, and I'll maybe pair them up with a tea or some kind of herbal oil or something. Um, and then yeah, no, I can't remember. I've lost my track again.
It's okay. So it's just going with the flow. Is
Yeah.
honestly, that sounds like me. That's what I do. I find Hecate, a lot of her witches are like that. She tells you, right, you need this. And sometimes if I'm doing magic, she's like, get this sort of candle and get this herb and get this thing and this and this and do it like this. it just comes intuitively. I mean, obviously do your own research and learn things, of course. But yeah, she very much does have that influence. I just wondered because when it comes to magic, obviously there's so many different types, and I get that you're not doing ceremonies and things like this. Everyone's different. But do you have any sort of magic you're drawn to the most? Or for me, obviously it's divination. I'm always drawn to that. That's what I feel I'm skilled at. But do you have anything like that that you feel you're talented at? Or
Well, yeah. So probably for me, sex magic, I find. And that I think has been from Sekhmet because she's very involved with the sacred, divine, feminine sexuality, sensuality. And so for me, that's the bit that I've definitely been a bit more drawn to alongside
Hmm.
crystals, using crystals and not just using the crystals necessarily that like for their properties that they're known for. I kind of will sit
Hmm.
with the crystals and try and almost communicate with the energy and feel like what do they want to show me or what. So I do a lot of kind of like amulets and enchanting jewelry, things like that. I like because my energy levels can vary a lot because of my physical health. I like low energy witchcraft, I think is
Yeah.
the vibe. Things that I'm already doing, but kind of make them magical.
Yeah. No, no, that's cool. It's interesting. It's interesting you say that about crystals too, because I mean, when I first started, I mean, I use crystals now still, but I'm not too drawn to them. Everyone's different. So obviously you must have an affinity for them, but they are part of the earth. This animism that you believe in. I I don't know if you found this yet because you're just getting into herbs, but I do the same with herbs. You kind of build a relationship with the spirit of different plants. I don't know if you've done that yet, or is there any that you're drawn to, or any crystals, any crystal tips you'd give people, or
Oh, that is a good thing. I would say herb wise, I'm drawn to I used to absolutely hate lavender. I really did not like it. I really didn't like the smell. I don't know, something I was really put off it. And then when I started with Hecate, she really kind of made me appreciate lavender much more and and so actually it's the one that I go to the most now, just because it calms me down, nice and soothing. I have a lavender plant and I'll just walk past it, grab a bit, rub it on my head, rub it on my, just get the energy. Um, but on the crystal side of things, I would say my top tip is well, apart from trying to source them ethically, aside from that, would be just sit with the crystal, sit, hold a crystal, ask it what it can teach you, what you can learn from it, because I really feel that they have a spirit and an energy that you can really connect to, and even just like a sphere or even a small, and just stare into the crystal, look, see if you can see any patterns, any shapes, and if you kind of meditate with it, it will reveal things to you that you need to know.
yeah, that sounds a bit like scrying, but with
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. That's cool. Uh, is there, I'm trying to think what else I can ask you. Is there anything you want to share? Anything you want to share?
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. I think kind of what I think it's kind of like to do with the left hand path side of things because some of the deities that I work with the left hand path, and that's kind of to me, I think been really important because I can tend to be a bit of like a people pleaser. I've had
Yeah,
some not nice times in my life and I've relied on substances and things like that. It's not always been easy. But for me, spirituality is kind of all about the personal transformation and enlightenment and trying to get to that understanding and realization at all times that we're all connected and we're all part of the universe. We're all part of something bigger. And that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I'm trying to get to is that I think it's called abiding awakening in some of like the Eastern traditions.
Hmm.
Because I think for me on my own journey, the closer and closer I get to that, the easier I'm finding my life and the easier it gets to kind of go through the hard times as well, because you know that actually you're supported by the universe as long as you're putting that good energy out there, or well, not even that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think very much I get what you're saying, even for me, like now I know, well, no matter how alone you feel, you're never alone. As in, we've all got a spirit team, no matter what you believe. For me, it's my deities, your deities, or someone else might believe in angels or whatever, or your ancestors, whoever, whatever brings you comfort. We are all connected, no matter what you believe, we are connected in yeah, in the fact that we're all here sharing an experience, and yeah, I get that. Uh, so left hand path you mentioned though. So left hand path, obviously that's another big umbrella term, and it's something I've delved into in recent years, and I talk about on the channel, and I've had people talk about on the channel as well. Uh, what does it mean to you though? Because to me, oh, sorry, yeah, left hand path, I guess, is self-sovereignty and well, some people take it so far as to say you are a god. Uh, but yeah, what does it mean to you?
So it's kind of the same. I would say it's a very different approach. I think that I do believe that we're all gods in a sense that we're all universal source energy, in my view. And so for me, it's coming to that realization that, yeah, we are all divine and we're all this divine energy. And it's all about knowing and embracing that power. And I think some people use it for different things, and I think do what makes you happy. But for me, I think my next step will be doing a job where I hopefully help people more directly. And I think coming to that place of knowing and owning my own power is going to be really important for that. And especially as someone who can be kind of put other people's needs first, it's all been about teaching myself that actually, no, if I don't put myself first, I'm not going to be able to help all the other people. I'm not going to be able to do that work. So I think it's more of an empowerment journey for me and like know my own power.
Yeah. No, that's what I see it like too. And Hecate herself taught me that, look, if you can't believe in yourself, why would you expect anyone else to believe in you at the end of the day? And that's very true. And I just talking with you, I can see you possibly, I mean, this is just my assumption, you could go down like a dark feminine sort of route. I'm feeling Lilith vibes. Someone like that, someone, to teach you. Oh, yeah. Like what Sekhmet's doing for you now as well, maybe to the next level, glamour magic, but self-empowerment.
No, yeah, I feel that I do I think for me the divine feminine is really important because so now I live with my partner and he has three amazing children who he adopted with his ex, and before being with him I was didn't want kids, whatever, but
Yeah.
now it, it- I've been I'm now in a parental role, and this divine feminine energy is really important because it's making me in touch with my emotions, the kids' emotions, acknowledging that we all have emotions and we all need to do that. And I think the divine feminine is so often forgotten. And to me, I think a big part of my own personal beliefs is pushing that divine feminine, embracing my femininity, which is something I was so often taught to repress, and just
Yeah,
owning
of
all
course.
of that and living in that feminine energy.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. Regardless as to what your gender is, or gender identity, or sexuality, or anything, we've all got the feminine and masculine in us. And yeah, I feel in general, and I don't mean this as a dig at any organized religion after what we've said, but that is a very masculine based religion and it is suppressed throughout the world. Like the feminine was demonized. And yeah, now it's a time to embrace that and yeah, the divine mother, whoever she is to us all. It's very much that sort of energy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think both Sekhmet and Hecate bring that very nurturing, motherly. It's like kind of they look after their own and they're going to protect them.
Yeah. It's like, well, a lioness and her cubs.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, Chris. Thanks for chatting with us. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening. And until next time, stay safe, stay witchy. Bye.